This week in Boomtown, Ohio is #1 for business, but can it stay there? Governor Mike DeWine says the state cannot afford to coast, where he says Ohio needs to invest in next. Plus, high-tech jobs need high-tech training. This week, the college program getting a visit from Washington, and why its approach could give students a serious head start in the job market. And putting a plan in place for parks in Powell. The city is growing and laying out a new framework for the next 15 years. Central Ohio is booming. We all see it and we all can feel it. So here's what we uncovered this week in Boomtown. Thanks so much for joining us for This Week in Boomtown. I'm Angela Ann. We always have a lot to talk about, but let's start with the headlines first. Nestle is expanding its footprint in Ohio with a new $500 million investment. The new pet food factory in Batavia for Purina Pet Care is in southwest Ohio, just east of Cincinnati. This building has been 6 years in the making, and leaders are planning to hold a grand opening at the end of August. Lancaster City Schools just opened a new high school this week. It's part of a bigger 20-year plan that included rebuilding 5 elementary schools, 2 junior highs, and now the high school to help handle the growth.
When you talk about a school that we had that was over 60 years old, the technology has obviously been, a detriment in some cases, and just, they deserve it. Kids deserve the best, and, this is a facility that will last another 60, 70 years into the future and complete this community.
New facilities include 2 gyms, an auditorium, and a combined facility for career tech programs. Tech giant NVIDIA is investing $1.5 billion in Pike County. This is what the massive Portsmouth data center will look like when it's done. SB Energy will operate this with OpenAI leasing for 20 years. Well, this week, Governor Mike DeWine and Lieutenant Governor Jim Trussell kicked off their Heart of Opportunity tour, touting Ohio's recent ranking as the #1 state in the country to do business. Reporter Megan Hartnett went to one of their stops in Toledo this week and learned why the governor says the state needs to keep momentum moving.
You won't stay #1 unless you keep trying to do better.
Governor Mike DeWine wants Ohio to keep being better for businesses. CNBC ranked the state as the top place to do business last month, with top rankings in cost of doing business and infrastructure. This is something the governor says is a testament to current investments.
Cleaning up brownfield. Another one is demolition. Some of it also is riverfront, along the riverfront.
But the state ranked lowest in the workforce and quality of life categories, which is where the governor wants to see continued focus even after he's out of office.
We're going to hand off the best Ohio we can at the end of the DeWine-Houston administration.
DeWine says the investment needs to be in people, starting with some of the youngest.
Reading, when you think about it, is the key to success in any kind of education. But it's also the key to success in life.
That's why he stressed the importance of the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, reading coaches, and the Ohio Sea program that gets kids glasses. The governor says the investment needs to continue through higher education in things like career prep programs and student opportunities.
When you graduate, I'd like you to be going for your second job, not your first job, because you got that experience while you were in school that gives you a leg up. I think for higher ed, for us to expand on that, that's the secret sauce going forward.
The governor says keeping up with health clinics and state parks will improve quality of life for those looking to do business in the Buckeye State. Reporting in Toledo, Megan Hartnett, WTOL 11.
Well, the buzz in Ohio is certainly getting a lot of attention from top government leaders. This is U.S. Acting Secretary of Labor Keith Sonderling. He stopped at Ohio State just this week to tour the Center for Design and Manufacturing Excellence. This works with companies to translate new technologies into real-world products. Well, here's why the secretary said that is so important to students today.
For students to be able to get these high-skilled, high-paying jobs and start right away, they need to learn in undergrad. They need to learn even before in high school, and they can't learn without having those exact tools that those employers are using. And what we're seeing here is Ohio State is investing in this very high-tech equipment that is really only available in the private sector. And by actually buying that equipment, getting that equipment, working with employers on that exact type of equipment and training on that, when these students graduate, they'll be able to start working on day one on these very advanced manufacturing equipment, and that's how we're going to bring industry back. That's how we're going to bring manufacturing back.
Most of the students that work in the center have a job years before they graduate. While they're working here, they're working for the companies that ultimately want to hire them. So it's effectively a 4-year interview for both.
Welcome back. The city of Powell is looking ahead at the next 15 years of Parks and Recreation. Council recently approved Powell's first ever Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And this is really a roadmap that includes new playgrounds, more trails, and many more gathering spaces. Now, more than 1,000 residents had a say in what they want to see. And joining us now to talk about what is next and what this could really mean for people who live in Powell, I want to welcome Assistant City Manager Jeffrey Tyler. Welcome to This Week in Boomtown.
Thank you.
Well, we were just talking about Powell used to be so small and now it's growing so big. So let's start with big picture here, Jeffrey, because what does this plan actually mean in terms of change for the city?
Well, you kind of alluded to it in the beginning. This is really the first major master planning effort for our parks. Back in 2000, 2004 specifically, the city went through a parks imaging or parks development, if you will, and they developed at that time 7 parks. What we're doing at this point is taking those kind of worn out parks, if you will, and we are looking at them strategically to hopefully help us with the next 20, 30 years of park development. So this master plan really helps set the tone for those initiatives.
And it sounds like it was really needed, right? Because things are growing and so quickly. You
Absolutely.
need to update faster.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And with all the development that's going on, we want to
Yes.
retain, and we want to definitely make sure that those parks are retained in such a way where they become a quality of life issue for the residents.
So I'm curious, you had about 1,000 residents who participated in this survey initially. What were some of the highlights or the themes that you started really hearing that they wanted to see more of?
So initially, the thought process was not so much of structured parks as well, or like structured athletic fields and those types of things. More passive parks, more parks that actually are able to house a lot of different activities.
For different generations.
For different
teens,
generations.
seniors.
Our teens were heavily involved in this process. Our seniors did speak out. And so this was a means to kind of capture all of that and bring it into a more cohesive, comprehensive fashion.
Well, if you've never been to Powell, it's absolutely beautiful. And I know that this part of Delaware County is growing so quickly. I want to talk specifically about Bennett Farms. That is such an opportunity for Powell. Talk about the history of this and why you guys specifically had something about Bennett Farms in the survey.
Bennett Farms is a unique opportunity. Frankly, there were a lot of developers when the family decided to sell that were looking at this particular property. And I can tell you, I don't think any of them were looking at it for park space. We were fortunate enough to be able to win that bid. And we committed to the family and committed to the community, most importantly, that we would maintain the natural features within this park.
And we're looking at some video of this. It's great land, beautiful trees. It even has that old barn on it.
Yes.
Like you want to continue that community event barn and these overlooks, right?
Absolutely. So we are currently looking at the dismantling and restoration of that barn into more of a community activity center. But you're not going to see a whole lot more what I would call brick and mortar, concrete types of things going on in this particular facility. We really are going to capitalize on its natural beauty and put in trails and passive types of things.
For dog walking.
We will have a dog park probably in this location.
Did I see mountain biking too, maybe?
We are looking at mountain biking.
Okay.
I don't know if that's actually going to make the cut, but we are looking at mountain biking, yes.
That's a big draw. You were saying earlier too, how do you preserve keeping these types of green spaces that so many people love, that speaks to the charm of Powell. And how do you balance that when you do have these big developers that say, I want to develop and do this?
I think you have to be extremely strategic. And I think that the city has kind of evolved. We have a saying, we call it Powell 2.0. And Powell 2.0 really looks at how do we thoughtfully plan the community for the next generation. And so with that, these planning efforts, this is one of several planning efforts that actually have happened that will help dictate how we move forward and how we actually invest in our community in the future.
Which one do you think that residents would realistically see first?
I think the Bennett Farm, and in fact, I just passed there as I was coming here. There's activity to kind of clean up the space. They will hopefully see the barn being dismantled within the next 30 days. They will also hopefully see a new shared use path that will connect the eastern neighborhoods directly to the downtown, going in hopefully within the next 30 days as well.
Well, this is so exciting, Jeffrey. I have a couple more questions. I do want to talk about this plan that talks about also creating this community center.
Yes.
And we're seeing so many different cities creating these beautiful community centers that bring people together. What does that look like for Powell?
So it was in the master plan. It's one of the long-term goals for the master plan. Right now, it looks to be located within our Seldom Seen Park, but that's going to take a lot of effort. We're going to have to do a feasibility study first, and that feasibility study will dictate kind of the direction, size, location, those types of amenities.
What will go inside?
Exactly.
Like a wellness center?
Absolutely.
Things like that?
And as you know, these things are not inexpensive. So, we are going to have to look at how are we going to fund this? How are we going to pay for this? So that it becomes a real community asset.
Well, that was my final question,
Okay,
is where's the money
yes.
going to come from? But you just answered it. At the end of the day, like you said, this was much needed, and this will look into the next 15 years.
Yes.
But who knows, maybe in 10 years you might have to relook at it again, given how the growth is.
With the growth, yes. And I think that these are living plans. So yes, we will look at it now, but we will continue to look at it in the future to ensure that the Powell community is really getting what they're paying for, and it really becomes a quality of life issue for the community.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey Tyler. Appreciate you coming on This Week in Boomtown.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So you are looking at a food delivery drone, just one of several innovations designed to make life a little bit easier. Take a look at some of these other technologies unveiled this week at the Future of Ohio Mobility Conference. This is a self-driving cargo shuttle that will change freight transportation for the future. And look at this, it is Brutus, ODOT's robotic dog designed to inspect bridges and get around areas that are just too hard for humans to reach. Now, this event is put on every year by the Beta District. This is a stretch of US 33 that goes from Dublin up to Marysville. Think of it as a live testing ground for smart mobility. Well, leaders from all across the country came to Central Ohio to test out some of those innovations. Earlier this week, 10 TV's Bryn Caswell sat down with the Beta District CEO.
You know, I always say that Central Ohio is a test market for so many other things. So it was kind of a natural fit. We do food and textiles and fashion. We are a test market. But we also have a major automotive OEM in town, in Honda. So we have the automotive nature of things. We have the engineers. And so it was a natural fit for us to plant a flag and say, let's draw the rest of this industry to this region because we're in the Midwest, a perfect place for it.
Right. And Doug, what are some of the technologies being tested in the Beta District right now?
Well, just this week, we saw a robot dog. There's a lot of things going on with drones. We do a lot more AI than you would think. In order for a vehicle to be self-driving on the roads, there's so many different technologies that have to be brought into play. And we're testing all of them here in the Beta District.
So when we talk about connected roads and vehicles, what does that actually mean? Because a lot of us think, self-driving cars.
It starts with a fiber optic network, so the communications is there. There are poles along that network. Those poles have power going to them. Then there are devices on top of those poles that emit wireless signals. And then there are devices inside vehicles that receive those signals. That forms a network, kind of a moving network. And that's what a connected vehicle environment means. And that's all it means for now. But we're in a position to put platooning trucks and self-driving cars and drones in the space as well. And they all use the same network. So that's what it really means.
With major partners like Honda and Google, how does this mobility really, bring jobs here to Central Ohio?
We like to focus on small innovations from maybe startups. Like a small startup local to us is called Parawave, and they make an AI that analyzes things. They're small, there's only 2 or 3 employees there, but when they can grow to 5 or to 10, and when they can do partnerships with people outside of the state, that's when we start to see the economic development we're working towards.
Okay, what technologies are you most excited about, and how close are some of them to becoming reality?
I'm excited about putting more drones in the air, and for those drones to act in our service, especially reducing accidents, improving the safety of our construction workers, and things like that. We have a real problem with safety, and we want to really eliminate fatal crashes from our environment soon.
Well, we can't wait to see what they come up with when it comes to mobility. Growth in Central Ohio in all directions, right? And we do know the rapid pace of growth comes with its challenges, but there are some solutions. So we do want to hear from you. If you have questions related to Central Ohio's growth, text us 614-460-3345. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. You can always drop a question right there in the comment section as well. Thanks so much for watching This Week in Boomtown. I'm Angela Ann. We'll see you again next week.